The wind whipped up out of nowhere as the storm howled. The storm raged and the sky darkened. As the thunder cracked, I felt like the earth would swallow me whole. This was the night my son found my stash. Carl found my stash. My 13-year-old son had to sit his mother down and have the drug talk with her. Where in the world did you ever see such a grotesque perversion of roles? I really wanted that world to swallow me whole. I had been blind and I should have known better. You see, my first addiction happened straight out of school, but it was a walk in the park in comparison. It was all lights and parties and psychedelics back then. But when I found out I was expecting Carl, it was really easy just to pack it up and walk away. That decade between my first addiction and my second addiction was idyllic. I was raising my boys single-handedly, bought into society's paradigms, and I was pursuing the picket fence dream. I even started a business. I was almost surprised by how easy it all was. But easy equals boring, and the discontent gradually crept up on me. I felt like I was living a daily repeat of Groundhog Day. And so for my 30th birthday, I decided to spoil myself with a little trip down psychedelic lane. It wasn't long, though, before the psychedelics gave way to something far darker, and I sunk into the grip of crystal meth. Have you ever seen a crystal addict? It's like being possessed. My body was always twitching. My fingers and toes would curl over uncontrollably, depending on how many days I'd been binging. My paranoia gave way to incoherence, and over time, I made less and less sense. My particular party trick was taking my clothes off. You could tell how wasted I was by how naked I was. I still get naked today, but this grounds me. So excuse me. My business was spiraling out of control. I was losing clients, and my need to fund my habit drove me relentlessly, so I took up glamour modeling. Now, glamour modeling sounds very glamorous, but it's really just artsy naked photos. It led me to some shady places and some even shadier characters. My loss of control came into sharp relief that day that Carl confronted me. I realized that I had lost 3 years of my life, and as I looked into his eyes, I saw I was at risk of losing him too. That was the day that I decided to turn my life around. What they don't tell you about recovery is things very often get worse before they get better. And as I started cleaning up, I set off this chain reaction of loss. I lost my car, my house, my business. Quitting is certainly not a silver bullet to escaping that trail of destruction. The last intact relationship I had was with my dad, and we spent long hours on the phone, me raging and him pouring out his wisdom. I asked him through my tears, why me? I'll never forget his words. Stop asking why, Sean, and start asking what next. Those were the last words he spoke to me. He died unexpectedly a few days later, and for the first time, I was utterly without a support system, adrift. But still, those 13-year-old eyes looked at me with a trust that I was determined to deserve. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Dad's words became my mantra. What next? What next? I initiated the most grueling job search I dreamed possible. And finally, 2 long years later, I found employment. First thing we did was set up a home of our own. Over the years, I've tried to piece my fractured memories together, but I come up empty. I do remember the price I paid, and it was high. My teeth were so badly rotten that I no longer smiled. For several years, I used to laugh with my hand covering my mouth. My brother was my best friend before this detour, but we've been estranged until very recently. Between my habit and his response, we tore our family apart. And although our reconciliation is new, my optimism is still tinged with sadness for the years of separation that we've endured. The drugs didn't change me, They simply showed me the darkest parts of who I am. And by visiting the dungeons of my darkness, I have learned to embrace who I am, and I've also been able to kickstart my healing journey. And as this healing journey picked up momentum, I found an affinity with dragonflies. In many countries across the world, the dragonfly is a symbol of change in the pursuit of self-actualization. And I could just see how all the changes I had experienced had just paved the way for this journey. So on my 40th birthday, with this new realization, I got my dragonfly tattoo. A couple of short years later, I opened my heart business and I called it Dragonfly. I love that I get to use my journey to help others find purpose, to show people that it's only when we embrace both the darkness and the light of who we are that we can become free. I'll never banish the darkness entirely, but I've found redemption in knowing who I am. Today, Carl and I share a remarkably close relationship. Now, I don't know what dungeons hold you captive tonight, but I do know that you too can rise up out of them on dragonfly wings by embracing who you are.